Good morning, Facebook. On my ride to work, I'm almost there. I'm going to try to make this real quick so that I can get into work. I just wanted to drop by real quick and talk about domestic violence real quick, as quick as I can. I just wanted, I told my sister I was going to do this live, but I'm kind of stumped on which way to go with the conversation this morning. Every day, someone, whether it's male or female or child, is dying from domestic violence. I got a phone call early this morning that someone was killed due to domestic violence. And I tell people all the time, domestic violence is a silent killer because most people are embarrassed. Most people are shamed. Most people were raised in it. Some people, that's their concept of love. Some people have so many reasons, some that we'll never understand, as to why they stayed. I was in domestic violence for 10.5+ years. And I always say plus because the abuse was 10.5 years, but going through the courts, going through the mental, going through the stalking and all of that, it was 10.5 years plus. And my children were witnesses of domestic violence. And I just kind of want to tell people, excuse me, I'm fighting this cold, to stop judging other people in domestic violence. Once y'all read about domestic violence, everybody can put their mouth on another person's situation. I know there's why he didn't leave. Oh, that couldn't be me. That's so crazy. I know all those things being said. And I know all those questions are at hand. I do know that. While I'm driving, I see this thing buffering in and out. Hopefully it'll catch it at the right time. However, I'm gonna shift to another direction. It looked like ain't nobody made it to work but me. Okay, so I guess I have to let these people in, so y'all gonna have to walk with me as I let them in, because I thought I was gonna just come on here real quick and do this, but I pulled up at work. Nobody's here but me, and I have to let the people in and give them their money because I'm the accountant. So you're gonna walk with me this morning. But I wanted to talk to you about judging. I understand that you judge, and I understand you want to know why somebody stayed. Why didn't they just get out? It's a why? And I understand that. But what I need you to understand is there's some things that you've done in your life that people are probably asking why. Hold on, we buffering. I'm finna get out the car. I didn't know this was gonna happen, so y'all work with me. I'm coming, y'all. Now I got to find the keys to the building. There are some things in your life that your family, your friends, your loved ones probably want to know why you did something that you did. And it may not be domestic violence. It may be something totally different. It may be something totally opposite of domestic violence. It could be why you got pregnant, why you got rid of the baby, or why you dating this girl, or why you dating this guy. It could be a lot of whys. But when it comes to domestic violence, everybody has their judgmental mindset as to why, or they down people or bash them and talk so bad about them. And I don't think it's right. I don't think it's fair. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm trying to see how I can let this man know. Hold on. Good morning. You can come on. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm coming back, and then I'm gonna get focused. I am well. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Got it? Okay.
It's okay if I pop it open and phone up, right?
Sure. Okay, so I'm gonna sit over here instead of taking y'all upstairs because I'm gonna try to be quick. Okay, so it bothers me how so many people judge domestic violence. So many people talk about why they didn't just get out. It couldn't be me. I was one of those people. I was one of those people that when I heard about domestic violence, I I talked about, why don't they just get out? Oh, baby, I'll do this if it happens to me. Oh, child, it couldn't be me. You so stupid. There's so many things I put my mouth on because I had never experienced it. When I went through my 10 and a half years of domestic violence, I didn't stay because of finances. I didn't stay because that was the kid's father. I stayed because I thought that was love. Stop right there. Because I'm not going to be able to read your comments, but when I go back through, if there's any comments that are degrading or downing somebody, I'm going to delete it because I'm not on here to debate with anybody. I am just here this morning to ask you to stop putting your mouth and judging other people. I am here to tell you, while you're putting your mouth on somebody else's situation, they so stupid, they shouldn't have never, girl, that couldn't be me. Your son or your daughter could be secretly going through what somebody else is going through, but they're not going to tell you because they've heard you so many times bashing domestic violence. No, domestic violence is not something you ignore, but many people ignore it. And they ignore it sometimes because many people stay in it. When I was going through my domestic violence, I didn't involve anybody. I didn't pull anybody in it. I didn't run and tell people my business. And there's a long reason to why I didn't. If you want to read it, find out, read it in my book. Someone Almost Loved Me to Death. But I stayed because, as crazy as it sounds, crazy as it may seem, it felt like love. Morning. I thought it was love. Good morning. It was love to me. You let there be light? You let there be light? Just down. I don't care. Now they're coming to work. Anywho, I stayed for so many reasons because I wanted to be loved. I wanted to be loved so bad. And then I put myself in a position to get involved with someone that almost loved me to death, truly. But I didn't get on here to talk about me. I got on here just to say, stop judging. Someone was killed last night. I'm not sure who it is yet. I haven't seen anything because I woke up to the phone call. And I normally don't even get on social media until after I get to work and get all my work done. And that's normally like 1 o'clock before I get on. And I rarely say anything. I may like or comment. But it's rarely that I get on here and post or do a live. But I felt compelled to come on because people will sit back and put their mouths on other people's situation. Most times it's silent screams to tell. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, silent screams, truly. I have some situations going on that I know of personally. And people are always saying, well, why don't they just get out? Well, why, if they know that person gonna act like that, why don't they just get out? I think the best thing that we can do for anybody, but especially people in domestic violence, is if you don't have an answer, if you've not experienced it, if you can't counsel it, if you can't mentor it, and all you have is a judgmental spirit, don't touch it. It's best to stay quiet because you don't know who in your family. And you can say all you want, my family fighters, my family this, my family that. You know, everybody looked at me as this mean, dominant person, that this person, I know a man ain't gonna hit that one because she crazy. All that old stuff they were thinking about me. That's how I appeared to them. There's some of them in y'all family who you say, child, I know a man ain't. And because that's how you've labeled them, and that's how they're supposed to appear, they won't tell you when they're going through something, because how can I tell you I'm going through domestic violence and I'm supposed to be so dominant? I'm supposed to be so this. I was talking to one of my best friends this morning on the phone. And we came into a conversation of, well, I'm sure she might have told her sisters because they're really, really close. And I had to remind her, me and you are close. We've been friends over almost 35 years. And there are some things that I went through that you never knew. There are some things that when I was in domestic violence and he was in jail, and no, I ain't going to see him. No, I ain't writing him. No, I ain't being bothered with him. I was visiting. Nobody knew. I was accepting phone calls. And I was doing all those things that nobody knew. Sometimes victims are doing stuff that the best friend, the sister, the mama, the aunt, the counselor, the attorney, state attorney, whoever, don't have a clue about. So that's why when I deal with counseling someone in domestic violence and they say he in jail or she in jail and I ain't fixing to audit, you going to visit them. I can pick it up in my spirit because God has anointed me to do that, but also because I speak with God and I have a discernment. And I know what it looked like because I've lived it. But most of the time they're still in contact with them. When they're out, they ain't coming back to live with me. They ain't finna do this. I don't know. They're still sleeping with them. Can I throw you a sidebar in there? As strange as it may seem, do you know how many men and women stay in relationships because of good sex? Yeah, good sex. Good sex will get you killed. Men will kill women behind good sex. Women stay with men behind good sex. And to somebody they saying, that's crazy, you gonna die behind it? Somehow. Some will. But who are you to judge? What is the sin that so easily beset you? I didn't come here to pump up people in domestic violence. I didn't come to downgrade people that judge it. But I am saying, take your mouth off of what you've never experienced. I don't care about your book knowledge. I don't care if you went to school for psychology and the mind tells me that people that, if you never experienced it, don't judge it. Don't touch it. Keep your mouth off of it. Because it's not for you to judge. If it's not something that you will deal with or allow, great, cool. But how about just pray for those people who go through domestic violence? How about just pray for the ones that are locked? Because there's a root issue. I'm just a firm believer that everybody that gets involved in certain things, they have a root issue. Somewhere along the way, they were Mephibosheth. They were dropped. But that's for another time. However, somewhere along the way, there's a root issue. I tell everybody, as a child, if they'd have asked me, what you want to be, Yolanda? I sure wouldn't have said an abused and battered woman. I sure wouldn't have said I wanted to be running from house to house with black eyes. I sure wouldn't have said I wanted to have 5 children and the fathers don't do their part. I surely wouldn't have said I wanted to grow up and be speaking as a victim of domestic violence. I sure wouldn't have wanted to say I want to know what it feels like to get hit with the back of a gun. No. Nobody that's on drugs grow up as a child and say, when I get big, I want to be a crackhead. When I get big, I want to be an alcoholic. Who does that? Somewhere along the way, something happened and caused a root issue. Some people, pain is all they ever knew. Pain is all they've ever known. Some people have experienced stuff before you ever met them. I told my good friend one day when she was saying, I've been knowing them for years. That girl ain't never. How do you know what she went through from birth till when you met her at 9? How do you know she didn't get molested at 2? How do you know she weren't burned by grease and that's her fear of fire at 2? But when you met her at 12, you didn't hear that story, so you don't know nothing about that fear. You didn't hear about the molestation at 2, 3, 4, 5. You met them at 10. Nobody talked about that. So you didn't know about that part of their lives. And you say, I've been knowing them all their life. I met them when they was 10. They good family. How do you know? What happened before you met them? You only know about me what I tell you. You don't know no more about me. Rhonda, you are an example, honey. You keep doing what you're doing over there in Bradenton and all around the world. I commend you. Hats off to you. You guys need to go on YouTube. Let me pull my glasses up and look up Rhonda White Callahan. Like, Rhonda, can you post, if you're still here, your information about what you went through with your domestic violence, your YouTube link, because people need to understand that domestic violence is real and everybody didn't survive. I ask people, I used to ask God, you let me survive. My story is nowhere near some of the people's stories that I hear. And God had to remind me, it's not about the story. It's not about the intents. It's not about the person who got killed. It's not about the person that's disfigured for the rest of their life. It's about who I set to tell the story. And I've battled with that for a long time because I said, God, you let me live. And I thank God I don't look like what I've been through. Because there were days I couldn't see out of either of my eyes. I didn't call my brothers. I didn't call my daddy, even though sometimes my daddy said, what's going on? Even though some of the people that knew that he was abusive and didn't tell me until after we were together, or they didn't tell me at all, even whether it was family members or whatever, they knew he was abusive, but they didn't say anything to me. But sometimes I used to get angry and say, people knew. But then, I say, even if they'd have told me, would I have listened? Probably not. I'm going to merge up here to my office. However, there are people that know what you're going through. And they won't say anything, but they'll talk about you. Sometimes it's your best friend, sometimes it's your family. They'll go and they'll talk about you. They'll talk about you with each other. But don't y'all know sometimes that's the reason why a victim won't come to you? Don't you know that a victim should be able to come to their so-called best friend and say, you know what, sis, I know he did all this to me, but for some reason I still love him. Without that friend saying, you so stupid. Hold on, I got to give the money. I seen you coming up. Let me get your check for you real quick.
Okay.
Walk with me. Gotta get the money at my office. That person should be able to say, sis, I'm still in love with him. And I don't know why. Sis, I'm still in love. I don't know why. And that friend supposed to be able to say, it is well. It's okay. I got your back. And I'm going to help you pray through this thing. Let's find out the root issue as to why you're still in love with hurt. Why you still in love with pain. Hold on again.
Can you sign for me?
Yeah, sure.
And where do you want your copy? Just leave it here.
I'll
for
take
me?
it.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Have a good day. Okay, I'm done. Now I can shut my door. But because we have been bashed and people got so much to say, so much negative to say about domestic violence, we get afraid to tell somebody the truth. We get afraid because domestic violence is so judged. And I think my main reason for coming on here this morning is mainly to say, be a friend. Be an ear. The time that you take to judge and to bash and to make phone calls and talk about everybody. Girl, girl, you here. Man, you see how that girl taking him through. Be a friend. When it comes to domestic violence, I put it in the same category, some may beg to differ, as cancer. Some people don't tell you they have cancer because sometimes they don't want the sympathy or whatever reason there is. But then they pull together and then they do cancer walks. We can have events about domestic violence and the people that needs to be in the house won't even show up. We can pull together and do a domestic violence walk. The people that need to be there won't show up. I think it's because they don't want to be judged. Domestic violence is such a silent killer, and our men and women and children are dying every day. I want to say to the parents, if you kept your child in domestic violence and they were witnesses, repent. Pull yourself together and be bold enough to have enough relationship with your sons or daughters to go to them and say, whatever their name is, I'm sorry. I repent and I apologize for keeping you in a situation that may drive your decision into your adulthood. Even if they're adults, you go to them and you sit them down, because see, some of y'all want to say, he ain't never hit the kids, he ain't never did. You don't have to touch me. But kids hear it. My mama told me one thing, sleep ain't always sleep. So when you think the doors are shut and the kids are asleep, they're not asleep. If they have ears, and they've endured some of those nights. I remember once I got out of it, my daughter said, when I first started speaking with Bay Area Legal Services, and my kids didn't want me to speak, they were ashamed. And then when they finally came to one of my speakings, I got up enough nerves to invite my dad, because I was getting an award for being the first person to speak out on domestic violence with Bay Area Legal Services. And I invited my dad and I invited my children, and that was their first time hearing me speak. And I had to limit what I said because it almost crushed my daddy into multiple pieces to hear what his daughter was going through, and I didn't say nothing because I wanted to be loved so bad. Where did I get dropped? I got dropped really, really young. And I know a lot of people look and say, both of their parents was together. They had a good life. Don't talk about what you really don't know. You only know me from what you've seen on the outside. But I won't go into that. However, I wanted to know what love was, and he introduced me to what I thought was love. And all he had to do was say the words. And I fell for it until it became a fear. And there were times I could have escaped and got away. There were times I did. But all he had to do was say, I love you. Right back in there. Because I needed to be loved so bad. And there are people out there that need to be loved so bad. And if you raised your children in a house where, even if it wasn't physical, but the words were just ugly words, repent. Because even though your children may not show you signs, there's some anger that lingers down in those babies that remember, and either your son will be abusive or allow a woman to run over him, or your daughter will be abused or allow or she'll be abusive. Make sure that your residue didn't fall off on them. Make sure that you ask your children, sit down with your children and say to your children, baby, do you remember? Be honest with me. Do you remember? You'll be amazed. And then ask them, what do they remember? And ask them, how did they feel about it? And how do they feel about it today? Another question you ask your children, are you angry with me? I remember my daughter said when I got ready to go out to a speaking, and she said, Mama, can I write a letter to Bay Area Legal Services? And I said, for what, baby? And she said, I just want to write a letter and tell them thank you. And I said, thank you for what? She said, for saving our lives. And she said, Mama, you don't know how many times when you were in parking lots and we had to sleep out in the streets and you were up praying for us. Mama, I wasn't asleep. I was woke and I was watching you cry and pray over us, and I was praying over you. She said, Mama, you don't know how many times I sat in, I got my car back. I know it. I'm so glad.
You know, I was thinking.
This woman don't see
Are
me.
you talking to someone?
Yes, go ahead.
When they gave you that rental, they're supposed to give you the equal.
They were at a peak season or something, so I actually took the last car that Hertz had, and they were supposed to accommodate me for the same size, but they didn't.
Because even if your home is damaged in a hurricane,
They're supposed to
if you got
accommodate.
$500,000 home, they have to house you in something equal.
Yeah, they didn't. They gave me the little power wheel.
Because of psychological effects. Do you have psychological
Yeah,
effects?
I think I got psychological effects. I have psychological effects coming to work. So, hey.
It looks beautiful.
Thank you. It feels good to be back in my car. I was in a car accident and my car has been gone for almost 3 weeks, and I finally got my car back yesterday. But anyways, my daughter said to me, Mama, you don't know how many nights I heard you and Daddy fighting. And Ma, I used to hear the screams and I used to hear your cries. And she said, I used to just sit at the top of the stairs. And she said, and I used to cry. And she said, Mama, I used to go and check on the children. Now this is a child herself. My baby lost her childhood at 3 years old. And she had to, because that's when I got with my abuser. And she lost her childhood because I had to teach her how to get her other siblings out of the window. I had to teach her how to sleep with a cell phone that didn't work, to press 911 if he ever came in there and tried to bother them. I had to teach her how to sleep with a screwdriver under her mattress just in case he ever decided to come in on them. I had to teach my daughter how to jump out the window, show her the location to stand and hide with her other siblings until I got there. And she used to cry and say, Mama, what if you don't make it? And I guaranteed her and I promised her that I would make it. And I only was able to make that promise because 6 months into the abuse, I fell on my knees to God and I asked him why. And God made me a promise that he wouldn't let me die. So I knew that if God made me that promise that I wasn't going to die. Now, he didn't tell me it was going to take me 10 more years to get out. However, he did promise me that I wasn't going to die, that I should live. So I had to stand on that promise, and I told my daughter, you stay there and don't you move. Taking the risk that the police would see her with all those other kids. Taking the risk that someone would snatch them. Oh, yeah, God, I thank you. Taking all these risks, but she lost her childhood because she had to learn how to run and jump out the window. She 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Her life. But she said, you don't know how many times I sat at the top of the stairs. And she said, because Mama, I just knew Daddy was going to kill you. And she said, I wanted to cover you up so that the other kids wouldn't see you. And it felt like my heart caved in. And I said, God, what have I done? What have I done? And I sat down with her because she saw the majority. I asked her, are you angry with me? And my baby told me, she said, Mama, I was angry with you because I didn't understand why you let Daddy do this to you. I didn't understand why you stayed, why you kept us here. And I allowed my daughter to be angry. How dare you not let your child say that I was angry with you for keeping us in something that almost killed you? My daughter said, Mama, you all we had. And I just was scared that Daddy was going to kill you. She said, so I want to write a letter to Bay Area Legal Services and tell them thank you for giving you the divorce and with Daddy being in prison now so that we can live and that they saved your life and he didn't get to kill you. I had a nervous breakdown in April of 1998. My last son from him was about 3 weeks old. And I had all the kids home for spring breaks, and I had a nervous breakdown. But to God be the glory, because I was Holy Ghost filled, but the flesh was still real. I had a nervous breakdown. My daughter had a nervous breakdown at the age of 11 years old because she was so stressed. But guess what? Nobody knew. Only a handful of people knew. My church pastor that I was at during the time, my spiritual father, he knew. And he would always tell me, come here. He would always open up the church or send someone to open up the church in late night hours when me and the kids were running. We kept a bag in the back seat of the car that if we had to run, they would have clean clothes. My children made straight A's. And as I got out of the domestic violence and began to take certain classes, I found out that children that make straight A's during the domestic violence, because and this is not true for everyone, but in some cases, my daughter would be so excited. They would be so excited about their grades. They would come home and show their grades to Daddy. They would show their grades to Mama. They were hoping that sometimes, if I just be good, this wouldn't happen. Sometimes kids take the responsibility of what adults are doing. There's so much I can go into on this live, but I'm at work. And I don't do many lives, but domestic violence is not just October. Domestic violence is all 12 months of the calendar. Every day, 365. A woman is dying all around the world. A male is dying all around the world. A child is getting caught in the crossfire and dying all around the world. But what I beg of you to do is be a friend. Don't be the person that bash. Because when my book came out, my best friend, Ann and Sabrina, they read the book and they were outdone. Why? Because they didn't know it was that extent. Because you don't tell everybody everything because you're ashamed. I don't care how close of a friend you are. There's just some stuff you're just not gonna tell everybody. People, stop fooling yourself as we best friends. Girl, they tell me everything. The devil is a liar. We don't even tell God everything, and he the man with the plan. He know it all. Stop fooling yourself that your best friend tell you everything. I guarantee you, if you have a friend that's gone through domestic violence, and you've put your mouth on it, girl, keep him locked up. Child, ooh, that couldn't be me. He better not never come back around us again. Now that person know that you don't like them, but they miss the finances, they miss the drug money, they miss the companion, they miss the pain. Because I can't tell you enough how many people, and I can raise my hand, I was a person that pain fulfilled me, and that's a whole nother story, a whole nother book. But pain, enduring pain, was almost like a fetish or a peace place for me. I needed pain. To me, pain was love. No, I ain't talking about nobody choking me out and all that. So don't get stupid, okay? But hear me in the spirit when I talk about pain. So some people just, all they know is hurtful pain, especially if they were molested, especially if they were abused as a child, especially if they were in foster homes. The silent pains that those children went through, if they were abandoned, if they weren't loved by a parent, the silent pain that they don't comprehend enough to speak out that it's pain. The silent pain that they cannot muster up the words, the right words to say, ouch, I feel this and I feel it in my heart. So they get so used to pain that emotionally and physically, mentally, pain is love. Especially if you've been molested by a family member that said they love you. So everything is love. Instead of judging them, if a friend, daughter, sister, brother tell you, but I still love them. Like Pastor McKinney said last night, you can be musing on the inside, but don't show it on the outside. Embrace them and say, but I love you. Let's get to the bottom of why. Let's go back in history. Let's go back to the place where you first felt this type of pain. And let's find out what caused this pain so we can uppluck this from the root and dig it out and let you feel what real love is, agape love from Jesus. But as long as you deal with the surface, they're going to keep going back like a drug addict. I remember my sister telling me and my best friend telling me that was both on crack. You can put me in jail. You can put me in a center. Y'all wonder why people get out and go and be in jail for 6 years and get back out and get back on crack. Man, you know why? They both told me the same story. They liked the high. All you did was kept me from my high. But I like the high. I like the feel of it. And until you deal with the issue that causes them to like the feel of the crack, until you deal with the root issue, you can lock them away. You can put them in the 4-step, 3-step, 12-step, and all that other stuff. They're going to get out and go right back to the crack because it makes them feel good. And until you deal with the root issue, and until they get sick and tired and the taste is no longer there, that is when they get off crack. That's why you can see people get off crack, get off alcohol without the classes, because it was something in them. And I want to believe that they found Mr. Jesus and he cleaned it up out of them. And that is why a person can be out of domestic violence, but something feels good in there, whether it's the sex, whether it's the money, whether it's the mental love of pain, whether that they feel more secure. It's a dangerous thing when a person can feel more secure with their abuser than they do with you, who you say, I'm your best friend. Check yourself. Don't be a friend that judge and put your mouth on their situation. Love them. Not to say ignore them, not to say don't tell them how you feel, but it's what you say. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. It's okay to say, I don't think this is healthy for you. I don't like how he treats you, but I love you enough to love you through this, but I don't want you to die in this. I don't want you to kill him and you be up the road. There's so many women and men that kill their victim. Good morning, Auntie Baby. There's so many men and women who are victims of domestic violence, and they've killed their abuser, and they're sitting in prison. Hold on. Hold on, y'all. Hello? Hey, baby. I'm on a live. What's up?
You talked to CC?
I texted you that last night.
Yeah.
So you already talked to her?
Yeah.
Okay, so why did they don't post it? Send it somewhere for the 7th.
I don't know. But I'll text her.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry, the hubby called. He made me lose the train of thought. Anyways, be that friend that say, I don't want you to die in this. Can we go together and get help? Don't get on the phone with y'all other homegirl, or if it's your sister, don't get on the phone with your mama and talk. She's so stupid, you know, mama, she went back to him. Yeah, that girl ain't gonna never learn nothing. Child, that's her. If he kill her, or if she cut him, that's, child, please. Don't do that. Don't do that. Because it might be something you going through that somebody else can say, that can never be me. Stop it. If you a friend, be a friend. Be a friend for real. And love them through this. Not abuse them double. There's a couple of people I turn to. You know what? Let me change that. A couple of people that knew, because I didn't turn to nobody but Jesus through this walk that I went through. And if you want to know the truth, Sabrina Chandler and Leah Ann Standby, oh, they can tell you. I didn't turn to nobody but God. So I'll rephrase this. There were a couple of people that knew what I was going through. And I thought that they had my best interests at heart. They just wanted to know my business. And I was the conversation for everybody. I was the talk about. I didn't go around people anyway, but then when I did show up, I was the whisper. But thank God I don't look like what I've been through. Thank God that I was anointed to go through the process, and God promised me He would not let me die, and today I'm here. I thank God for giving me an amazing husband that loves me right where I am. He loves me through all my bumps and bruises. Ladies, there is somebody out there for you that will love you for real. Men, there is someone out there that will love you for real. Get to your root issue of your anger, ladies. Get to the root issue of your anger, men. Get to the root of what causes you to stay in things that hurt you, women and men. Get to your root issue. Get help. Friends, help them get to the root issue without talking about them, without putting your mouth on them, without gossiping behind their backs. Because guess what? Most of the time they get it. They hear it. They feel it. And I'll say again, it's a bad thing when your friend, family, or loved one would rather confide in the abuser than you. Check your friendship. How friendly are you? Stop concerning yourself with why, it couldn't be me. Okay, that's fine. But stop concerning yourself with, that don't make no sense. Why she keep going back? Why he stay with her? She done cut him. She done tore up his clothes. Make sure, mom and dad, guardian, that the reason that they're staying, or the reason that they're being so abusive, is not because some of your residue rolled off on them. Make sure, mom, dad, and guardian, that the reason that they're being abusive, or the reason that they're staying, is because late in the midnight hour, they heard silent screams come from you. My children heard silent screams. They were witnesses of domestic violence. I repented to my children when we got out. I've repented to my children as they are adults, because I see the residue on a couple of my kids that I have to deal with today, that have the residue of being abusive and have the residue of staying in an abusive relationship. Parents, guardians, if you raised your child in an abusive relationship, how dare you dog them out and put your mouth on them and call them all kind of names because they picked up what you showed them, because they picked up what you kept them in. How about put your arms around them? I don't care that they kept going back. How many times did you go back? Maybe if you loved them through it, like you needed somebody to love you through it, or like somebody prayed for you and you made it out. Stop saying, sometimes when you've raised your child in a certain situation, whether it's poverty, whatever it is, and then they grow up and start doing it, guess what? You like to say, we done live like this, you so stupid, how you gon'? Because that's all they know. That's where you put them at. That's the position you put them in. Love them through what you. Love them through the environment that you raised them up in. And help them to understand they are not a product of their past environment, that they are better than that. But how dare you beat them down and call them all out their name? You're only abusing them too. You can't smoke a blunt and tell them don't smoke because it's bad for their health, but they see you still firing it up and you healthy. You can't smoke a cigarette and tell them it gives you cancer, but they still see you smoking it. They're going to do what they see, not what you tell them. So you can't tell them, much as me and your mama used to fight, much as me and your daddy used to fight, and you still stand in it. I love you, Prophetess Alicia, my sister. I love you, although I'm about to log off. But you cannot tell them how stupid they are. We've lived this life, and how dare you? How dare you? Love them through it. Love a person through this process. Don't be the one that get the phone call and now you have regrets of how you put your mouth and start to say, maybe if I would have, I wonder if I could have. Don't wonder. Apply love, real love, true love, friendship love, agape love. Love them. All right, I'm gonna get to work. I got to go to therapy, got to finish my work. I love you guys. Domestic violence is a silent killer. Somebody is dying every day, every hour. Children, men and women. Women are abusive. Some of them worse than men. So it's not about men that are abusive. You have some abusive daughters because they probably saw an abusive mom, or they saw mom be abused and they made it up in their mind that no man will ever do to them what was done to their mom. And guess what? They'd strike out first, even if the man wasn't finna touch them. I can go on and on and on, but I gotta get to work. Love somebody through domestic violence. Come on. When we call for these meetings to talk about domestic violence, show up. Grab a friend by the hand and come on. When we pull a domestic violence walk, chime in. You ain't got to say nothing. Just say you come to support and at least get the knowledge so your grandson, your granddaughter, your great-grandson, your great-granddaughter won't be victims or abusers. Okay, I'm finna go. You can reach out to me if you need to talk about domestic violence. I do have You'll Overcome Ministries, which is a counseling ministry. My main target is counseling domestic violence. 813-377-6725. I'm at work right now, so text me. 813-377-6725. 6725 You'll Overcome Ministries. I love you guys. Be blessed. I'm chiming off, but Connie, I love you and I miss you. And okay, sis, I will call you. Be blessed.